Hello, everyone. We're back here again in the study of A Course in Miracles, and we are continuing to do the lessons in the Course in Miracles workbook. So today we're on lesson 4, and lesson 4 is titled, "These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room, on this street, from the window or from this window and in this place." Now, up to now, this is lesson 4. In lesson 1, it addressed that nothing I see means anything. And the second lesson was that I have given everything that I or you see. We've given all the meaning to that, all that it has for us. And the third one was that I do not understand anything I see. And now we're addressing the lessons and exercises are addressing that these thoughts do not mean anything. And remember that the Course in Miracles, again, just to keep reminding, it is a mind training program. So you are, in these exercises, are being the observer and the witness of your mind. So I'll go on now and I'll continue to read this lesson. So these thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room, on this street, from this window, and in this place. Unlike the preceding ones, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. In these practice exercises, begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute. That's all, for a minute. You notice the thoughts. They apply the idea to them, or then apply the idea to them, to your thoughts. If you are already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find, if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that in a sense, none of them can be called good or bad. That is why they do not mean anything. In selecting the subjects for application of today's idea, the usual specificity, that's a tough one to get around. Specificity, you get what I'm trying to say? Specificity, there it is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them represent your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. The good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond. And shadows make sight difficult. Now, the bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. And you do not want either of them. This is a major exercise, and it will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form. The aim here is to train you in the first steps toward the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It is a first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside you, and the meaningful within. It is also the beginning of training your mind to recognize what is the same and what is different. In using your thoughts for application of the idea for today, identify each thought by the central figure or event it contains. For example, this thought about, you put that thought that you're having does not mean anything. So I'll give you an example. This thought about my body does not mean anything. Another might be, this thought about disease doesn't mean anything. This thought about pain doesn't mean anything. This thought about joy doesn't mean anything. This thought about aging doesn't mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room, on this street, and so on. Now, I've given you a number of examples there, but you are to input in that particular aspect of the exercise. You put in whatever that thought is, it's coming up for you at the time. And again, because you're taking that minute to note the thoughts that are crossing your mind. You know what? We have 64,000 thoughts in a day. Somewhere in that line. It's a large number. And again, those thoughts are often repeated over and over again. So that's what you're doing in this exercise, is you're observing in that minute your thoughts. You can also use the idea for a particular thought that you recognize as harmful. This practice is useful, but it is not a substitute for the more random procedures to be followed for the exercises. Do not, however, examine your mind for more than a minute. It's saying only a minute or so. You're too inexperienced as of yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. So it's important, a minute or so. Further, since these exercises are the first of their kind, again, you may find a suspension of judgment in connection with the thoughts particularly difficult. Like you might be really judging your thoughts. Do not repeat these exercises more than 3 or 4 times during a day. It says we will return to them later. So again, this is a mind training. And in the process, and this is about you doing your self-study. It's about you doing your inner work. And again, you're examining those thoughts that cross your mind. Down the road in these lessons, you're going to look at the beliefs and you're going to look at and observe your actions as well. But right now, the focus is on your thoughts. And remember, as it says, you know, the good ones are shadows and the bad ones, again, we judge them. We judge them as good or we judge them as bad. The bad ones are a block. They're a block to the sight, They're the block to truth. You know, again, they cover it up. And that good and bad, that duality is our ego thoughts, our ego thinking. So we're examining right now our ego thoughts. Thoughts of God are shared, or true thoughts are shared with God. True thoughts are shared with God, which the thoughts of God are pure. They bring peace. They bring unity. Those are real thoughts. These thoughts that are ego-based are not real. Again, they're all based on judgment. Really look at it. Where are you judging yourself? That, you know, something you know, again, a thought you have about what maybe you have done, or a thought about what you're seeing, and you're judging it as good or bad. When there's judgment, there's no love. Okay, so the other thing I want to say is really to take a look at how dependent we have become on the ego thought system. And, you know, and the bottom line is, as we're being shown here and doing this lesson, it doesn't mean anything. Again, we put all the meaning to it. And we're looking at what is meaningless and what is meaningful. Okay, so that's just a few of the thoughts. Again, these are all exercises. It's you doing your inner work. And again, I'm going to keep repeating this, to do your journaling. Do your journaling on what thoughts came up for you. Were you triggered by any of this that so far that you read in this lesson? Or you triggered by the exercises? The triggers are showing us something in here that needs to be shifted or healed. So that's a number one in terms of when you're triggered. Come back and look at yourself. What's going on inside? All right, I'm going to leave it at that for today, and I look forward to being with you again next for lesson 5. Have a wonderful day, and I hope I turn this off in just a second. Let's see if I can do it this time.